Treasurer, Donna Mann. Donna. Arrangements co-chair, I have David Wang. Jim Frawley. Communications co-chair, is Pat Cathcart here? Pat, no? Dick Pearson is here. Dick. Membership co-chair, I have Janet Morgan. Social co-chair, Soma Warner. Is Soma here? And of course, our immediate past president, Pete Leffler. Pete. Okay, and next I will introduce City Club past presidents, starting with, again, 2012, Pete Leffler. 2011, I have Janice Lee McMahon. 2005, John Morris. 2004, Tom Sandley. 2003, Wally Roswell. 98, Bill Berry. 1996, Chuck Adams. 1994, Bill Payne. And go back to 2009, Kent Halkett. Good. Got everyone, right? Now I'm proud to introduce San Marino City officials and city representatives. The City Council, I have Dr. Richardson, I think I've seen. Also want to mention, Dr. Sun just finished his term as a mayor, so thank you for leading the council. Next, I have Council Member Eugene Sun. Okay, I do not see our mayor, Dick Ward, is not here. Our Vice Mayor, Dennis Neal, was here before. Next, City Treasurer, Marina Wang. I have City Manager, John Schaefer. Planning and Building Director, David Saldana. Our Police Chief, Tim Harrigan. And our Fire Chief, again, Jim Frawley. Yay! Okay. Our Superintendent, Lauren Kleinrock. Lauren. And we all know sports is a big part of our community, and I believe our San Marino High School Athletic Director, Andrew Gale, is here? Is Andrew here? No? No. He's on the reservation list. I have San Marino's Historical Society President, John Morris. Chamber of Commerce President, Joanna Jimenez. Is the Rotary Club President, Isaac Hung, here? No? Okay. Good, moving on to club business. I am proud to deliver this great news to our members. City Club has received the Honorary Service Award at the PTA Council's Founders Day Award Ceremony. So you can see on the slide, this is the award. This special award is to recognize City Club's service and dedication to children and youth in our community. And this is all possible because the continuing support and commitment from our members. So please do give yourself a big hand. And with that, our membership committee co-chair Janet Morgan will introduce new members. Janet.
Boy, everybody's giving me a lot of reminders tonight. I want to thank you all. I'm ready, really. It's my pleasure to get to introduce three new members this evening. And just a reminder, we have had a really nice upsurge in membership, which makes us all happy. Our board members have been bringing guests, and many of them have been joining. And so if anybody here tonight is a guest and would like a membership application, we'd be happy to help you out. And then just encouraging, as I do every month, our members, tell a friend, bring a friend, and let's continue to grow our membership. I'll start, as I introduce you, please just come up front here, and when we've introduced all three, then we'll do a quick photo and move on. I'll start with Anthony Borrego. Anthony's right here. Thank you, Anthony. Born in Ventura, he attended Cal Lutheran University and also UC Berkeley Bolt Hall School of Law. He's lived in San Marino for 5 years, and he has a 7-year-old daughter who attends Valentine. His practice focuses on corporate transactions and mergers and acquisitions. His wife, Linda, is Associate Dean of the College of Letters, Arts, and Sciences at USC. Welcome, Anthony. Next, I'd like to invite Celia Chu up. I said it wrong. Cecile Chu. And Cecile is the wife of one of our newer members, so I really encourage our membership to husbands, wives. It's a nice way to have dinner with your spouse, with your friends. Cecile was born and raised in the Philippines. She moved to the U.S. in 1991. She attended Pacific Oaks College. She's home with her 2 elementary school-age children and involved at Valentine School and Girl Scout leader of Troop 1391. She's been a San Marino resident since 2009, and her husband Jeff is one of our newer members as well. Welcome, Cecile. And Tom Harder. And I personally know Tom, so I'm so thrilled to welcome Tom to our club. So Tom is an Iowa boy, very proud of it, born in Burlington, Iowa, and graduate of Iowa State University, but many of you in the room will be glad to know that he has an MBA from USC, so he's in. Fight on. He's lived in San Marino for 15 years with his wife, Shelley, who now I'm going to give him an application for as well, and his lovely daughters, Lydia and Gracie. The girls attended San Marino schools. Tom worked for the Wall Street Journal for over 20 years, and he's got a new enterprise doing mobile marketing. Did I say that right? Yeah. Okay. Welcome, Tom.
So thank you, Janet. Oh, good. I guess this is all the announcement for tonight. And let me have our second Vice President, Dan Biles, to introduce our speaker.
This may be part of the casualties of war, but this is like a battlefield promotion. I didn't know that Jeff was ailing. I hope it's not what I had that I may have shared with him, but I celebrated my 2-month anniversary of the cold I just got rid of. So, here? Okay. So Judith Goldstein is, you can call her Dr. Goldstein, you can call her Judith, or you can call her Judy, but don't call her late for dinner. She has been a historian who writes books about science. So Dr. Lucas, pay attention, please. Still awake? Okay. So Caltech isn't just a local school, it's a world-renowned center of the highest learning, whose reputation and faculty defy borders and occasionally enter space. Right? Thank you. So she, from its beginning, Troop University, she also founded Troop Memorial up the street from there. It's a modest little college founded in Pasadena in 1891, has become one of the world's leading institutions of scientific research. And she will talk about the history of Caltech as well as the history of science and beyond. She had attended the University of Washington and taught history at Cal State Dominguez Hills and UCLA, while building from scratch an archive and rare book collection in the history of science that attracts researchers from around the world. And she also taught courses at Caltech, including the Scientific Revolution and Forbidden Knowledge, which sounds like, I don't know. So anyway, I'm pleased to introduce Judy. She actually, she may know a 12-year-old or have some kids who are kind of savvy and stuff, but I'm told that this presentation includes not only slides, but also videos embedded, is that the right word, into the presentation. So please welcome Judith Goldstein. Do you want this down a ways, or you want to hold it? You want to hold it? Hold it.
Can you all hear me? Yeah. If so, then I'll leave it on here. Well, thank you for the kind introduction. Forbidden knowledge is not X-rated. Okay, that's my pointer.
There you go.
Well, if, like myself, you came here from someplace else, you came for that year-round warm weather, right? But this is what Caltech looks like in winter. At least this is what it looked like in January of 1949 for a few hours before it all melted. When Willie Fowler, who's not pictured here, but he was a young graduate student in 1931, the very first thing he saw on campus was America's most famous physicist, Robert Millikan, arguing with the world's most famous physicist, Albert Einstein. This, Willie said to himself, and later to me, is the place for me. And it was. Millikan and Einstein may have been arguing about the birth of cosmic rays, or the expansion of the universe, or more than likely about Einstein's salary for his annual visit to the Pasadena school. But at the same time, elsewhere on campus, Thomas Hunt Morgan and his students were laying the groundwork for modern genetics. Charles Richter was searching for a scale to measure earthquakes, and Linus Pauling was figuring out the chemical bond. Many years later, Willie would win his own Nobel Prize for helping to explain where sunlight comes from. Caltech is today, as it was the day that Willie arrived, an exquisite gem of American higher education. How did it come to be that way? Well, presidents from William Taft, oh, let's get our, okay, thank you. I think I'm doing something wrong. No?
Don't worry about it.
Okay. Oh, okay. It's even better. So residents from William Taft, as you see here, and Teddy Roosevelt, to Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton and Bush have trekked out west in quest of an answer. I should explain to you that when students do their oral exam at the end for the PhD, they put up a flyer, very matter of fact, what room and the title of their PhD dissertation. And this enterprising student did something because Clinton had just come out to see us. Okay, well, how did it all begin? It was the inspired leadership of these three men, George Ellery Hale, here, Robert Millikan, and Arthur Noyes. These three scientists brought Caltech to the pinnacle of excellence. They were a potent combination, these three men. They were great scientists themselves. They could also raise money. They could pick scientists, and they inspired their students to do great science. They also posed for this picture in the faculty club at Caltech, the Athenaeum. Not many could do all of that. I should say that when one of the faculty members walked in soon after this picture was hung up, he took one look at it and he said, "Ah, there goes thinker, tinker, and stinker." Caltech took its present name in 1920. That same year, a chemist by the name of Roscoe Dickinson successfully defended his dissertation at Caltech dealing with X-ray crystallography, and he received his PhD. It was the school's very first PhD. Dickinson had done his doctoral research in this building, Gates Chemical Laboratory, under Noyes' direction. A year later, Robert Millikan became head of the school with the title Chairman of the Executive Council. He never officially had the title of president. Let me just point out to you where he is. He's over here. Although he was head of the Institute for nearly 25 years, as I say, Millikan never served as president. Someone once asked the Caltech physicist and chemist Richard Tolman, over here, well, what exactly is a chairman of the Executive Council? And Tolman turned to the guy and said, well, a chairman of the Executive Council is just like a president, only more so. And now you understand that Millikan ruled, and no one questioned him. Linus Pauling, who ranks among the most important chemists of the 20th century, arrived at Caltech as a graduate student in 1922, right at the start of Caltech's transformation into the academic powerhouse it is today. Noyes, who was the founder and the first director of the Gates Chemical Laboratory on campus, determined the direction of the school's chemical research program. He recruited the faculty to carry it out, and he handpicked the early crop of graduate students, Pauling included. Now, in Pauling's time, this is what the school looked like. It definitely had a raw and unfinished look. The landscaping of the 30-acre campus in 1922 consisted, as you can see, of dried, caked weeds, a rundown orange grove, and a handful of small scrub oaks. There were 4 buildings, and I will point them out to you. This was Troop Hall, which stood until the North earthquake, and we tore it down. This is Bridge Laboratory of Physics. This is Gates, the chemistry lab. And this is Culbertson Hall. That, too, no longer exists. There were 28 advanced students, including 10 in chemistry and 18 PhDs on the faculty. And that ratio hasn't changed, that we still have relatively few students and many, many faculty, from postdocs to full professors. Over Christmas and spring vacations, there was a general exodus to the desert or the mountains. Roscoe Dickinson, who became Pauling's thesis advisor, took Pauling on his first overnight camping trip into the desert soon after making his acquaintance. Dickinson was a physical chemist who also played the cello. He was also a fearless hiker who would go off into the Sierras or the desert every chance he would get. Rattlesnakes, you can see the one he's holding, who challenged his right-of-way, were likely to end up as dead meat, judging from this photograph of Dickinson and his rattler. Then there was Alpine Tavern. That, too, was a favorite destination for the hikers in the chemistry department. You could eat there, you could sleep there, and as this sign suggests, skirts for rent, 25 cents. Formal wear was also available, or perhaps there was a dress code in the dining room. Alpine Tavern was about 2/3 of the way up to the top of Mount Lowe in the San Gabriel Mountains, and was famous in part because it was advertised in all the old big red cars. The big red cars were interurban trolley cars that allowed you to get all over Southern California easily. Ernest Swift, who you see here, was an instructor in analytical chemistry in 1922. He was a true Southerner, born and raised in Virginia. He later described some of his colleagues, including Roscoe Dickinson, whom we just saw, as prototype hippies. According to Swift, Dickinson had a complete disregard of clothes. Swift may also have been thinking of Howard Lucas, an organic chemist, or perhaps he was thinking of James Bell, who was in charge of the freshman work in chemistry. Bell was also known for being a very good dancer and was very popular with the spouses at the faculty dances, which were held over in the basement of Culbertson Hall, which, as I told you, is now vanished. He was called Daddy Bell. Noyes, for his part, did not work in the lab much after he came to Caltech. On occasion, he would take a test tube and stick his nose over it. Today, we would probably call him mechanically challenged. Noyes' idea of a good time involved taking faculty and student on trips in his Cadillac, a gift from George Ellery Hale, which the students at the time referred to as Old Marcy, short for Demosthenes, in honor of its pronounced stutter when Noyes tried to shift the gears. But if you gave Noyes a scientific problem to solve, he gave it his full and undivided attention. In 1925, Caltech officials were looking for a piece of land located in the foothills of the San Rafael Mountains, which is a short drive from the campus. What they wanted was to build a seismological laboratory there. The earthquake scientists needed a place that had very firm ground. So one moonlight night, Noyes and another chemist named James Ellis and Mary McSweeney, who you see here, Noyes had two housekeepers and Mary was the larger of the two. The three of them went over there with a bottle of mercury and a flat bowl. After looking around a bit, they found a flat place. Then they put the bowl down and they poured the mercury in it. After that, Ellis went off to a suitable distance and sighted across the mercury at the moon, whereupon Dr. Noyes said to Mary, "Mary, now walk." Mary walked, and usually when Mary walked, the ground was likely to shake. But Ellis observed no shimmering of the mercury surface. Caltech's Seismo Lab was built on that very site, and soon after, Charles Richter, who you see here, was hired to sort out the growing mountain of earthquake data in the lab. Richter found he could straighten it all out, classify little ones and big ones, new ones and far ones, on a scale that ranked earthquakes in factors of 10. And he said later, if there was anything you could call an actual discovery that came out of that scale, it was that the biggest earthquakes are ever so much bigger than the little ones. To which I think we could also say amen. Pauling, and this is a picture of the physics faculty, the graduate students, visitors, and a few of the mathematicians. In the late 20s and early 30s, the faculty didn't grow by very much between the wars. Pauling said that Caltech made a scientist of him. He also singled out Dickinson and Richard Chase Tolman as the two scientists who had the greatest impact on him. Here's Millikan in the center. This is the campus mascot at the time. That's Tolman. By way of classroom instruction, Pauling enrolled in lots of graduate courses, one right after the other, in physics and mathematics. He managed only one course in chemistry, Noyes' course on chemical thermodynamics. He learned integral equations, complex numbers, and potential theory from Harry Bateman. And this is Harry Bateman. Harry Bateman was professor of many things. He was professor of mathematics, professor of theoretical physics, and aeronautics as well. Pauling learned number theory from the mathematician E.T. Bell, who must have slept late because he is not in this photograph. Richard Chase Tolman, who was professor of physical chemistry and mathematical physics, taught Pauling relativity theory, mathematical physics, and statistical mechanics. Quantum theory he picked up from Paul Ehrenfest and Arnold Sommerfeld, two of the many distinguished campus visitors from whom Pauling learned theoretical physics as a graduate student. And this is Sommerfeld. This is the grandson of Charles Darwin. He was a physicist. Stories about the faculty who inhabited these walls during Pauling's time are legion. In his oral history memoir, Carl Anderson, the physicist, tells a marvelous story about this theorist, J. Robert Oppenheimer. For many years, Oppenheimer divided his time between UC Berkeley's physics department and Caltech's. Oppenheimer was not the eloquent speaker he later became. He didn't speak loudly enough. Often, he forgot to face the audience as well. During one of his visits to Caltech, Ehrenfest came to hear Oppenheimer lecture. And Ehrenfest sat in the first row so as not to miss a word. Finally, he couldn't contain himself, and he called out, "Oppenheimer, is it a secret?" Anderson himself took Oppenheimer's graduate course in quantum mechanics. The room was always packed. Oppenheimer would pace back and forth, and wherever he happened to be at that instant, he would write some squiggles on the blackboard, part of an equation, and they were randomly scattered all over the board. Anderson was not prepared for this. "I didn't know what Oppenheimer was talking about at all," Anderson said. "So I went to his office one day and said that I was afraid that I would have to drop the course because I didn't understand it." Oppenheimer, for his part, refused to sign the drop card. He pleaded with Anderson not to drop it. As Anderson tells the story, Oppenheimer said to him, "I assure you, everything will be all right at the end of the term." Anderson said, "Well, why is it so important I not drop the course?" "Because," Oppenheimer answered, "you're the only registered student." It was Richard Tolman, this is a young Richard Tolman here, Caltech's relativity expert at the time, who guided the Institute to the pinnacle of academic distinction. Tolman had come to Caltech in 22, like Pauling, through the efforts of Noyes. Noyes' greatest fear was that Tolman's radical political views would offend some of Caltech's conservative trustees. They're still conservative today. Indeed, while on the faculty of the University of Illinois during World War I, Tolman had been criticized by the university's trustees for lacking sufficient loyalty to the war effort, among other things. Tolman later resigned from the Illinois faculty to accept the rank of major in the Army and serve in the Chemical Warfare Service. And this picture of Tolman, in fact, in uniform, was taken in Washington in 1918. Now at Caltech, Tolman got on well with everybody. He often ate at the old faculty club, a rambling two-story building that was torn down to make way for the Athenaeum. The faculty club, which I'm happy to say, is still standing. At lunch, Tolman would attract graduate students, as well as faculty, to his table. At that time, Tolman was a bachelor. On several occasions, he had mentioned that he thought it would be very nice to have a dog. On one occasion, when he was up at Berkeley, some of the graduate students decided to find a suitable dog for Tolman. Then they sent a telegram to him informing him that they had acquired a dog they were sure he would like. And Tolman wired back, "Don't need a dog, got a wife." And here you see them all. Tolman married Ruth Sherman, a psychologist in Berkeley, in 1924, and he got the dog too. Well, Albert Einstein's visits to the campus in 1931, 32, and 33 capped Millikan's campaign to make Caltech one of the physics capitals of the world. If nothing else, Einstein's visits showed dramatically that the Caltech that Hale, Noyes, and Millikan had set out to build in the 20s had come of age in the 30s. During his stay at Caltech in 1931, Einstein went to hear a seminar by Pauling on the quantum theory of the chemical bond. Asked afterwards by a journalist what he thought of the talk, Einstein is reported to have said, "It was too complicated for me." Could be. In 1946, Robert Millikan, this is Lee DuBridge, Millikan turned over the reins to the physicist Lee A. DuBridge. When DuBridge arrived in 1946, Linus Pauling had become chairman of the Division of Chemistry, and George Beadle, shown here with Pauling, had recently succeeded Thomas Hunt Morgan as head of the biology department. Beadle's work had cemented the idea that genes control enzymes, the chemical stuff of life. Together, Pauling and Beadle established a new program in chemical biology. Pauling would go on to help found the field of modern molecular biology. In astronomy, DuBridge recruited this astronomer Jesse Greenstein, who built the field from the ground up into the formidable enterprise it still is today. In geology, he recruited Bob Sharp. In physics, he recruited Robert Bacher as Caltech's new physics head. Theoretical physics, always a stepchild under Millikan, entered a golden age with the acquisition of these two theoretical physicists, Richard Feynman and Murray Gell-Mann. In 1954, Pauling won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, and this is his family congratulating him. 4 years later, he stepped down as chairman of the chemistry division, and Ernest Swift, whom I introduced to you in 1922, took over as chairman. And in 1969, after nearly 23 years as president, Lee DuBridge resigned to become Richard Nixon's science advisor. Now that I've introduced some of the characters in Caltech's history, I'd like to invite you to join the stars of Millikan and DuBridge's school as they come out to take one more bow. The video you are about to see was produced in Caltech's Digital Media Center, and the images are courtesy of the Caltech archives. So this is fun. There is no quiz afterwards. Thank you, Chief.
1928, George Ellery Hale wrote, "Starlight is falling on every square mile of the Earth's surface, and the best we can do at present is to gather up and concentrate the rays, striking an area 100 inches in diameter." That same year, he proposed building a 200-inch telescope. Working at night in a small cage high above the primary mirror, feeling closer to the stars than to the Earth, remains an exhilarating and unforgettable experience. You also had to have a tough bladder, because if possible, it was a good night. You stayed up from 7 o'clock to 5 or 10 hours. After a careful setup, when the instruments are ready and the sun is set, the mirror cover opens and another night of observing begins.
So what we're going to say is that if these ununderstood rules are correct, then you can understand why this and that happens. I'm going to give you some ununderstood rules from which you'll understand everything else. Of course, you'll not understand anything because the rules are starting with not understood, but that's in the nature of physics. All right, we're off. So now that I got you nicely massaged up so that you can absorb this nonsense, and you're all tense to hear what kind of absurdity it is, and of course, in spite of all my warnings, you're right there sitting there figuring, I'm going to see if I can understand it by another way. Nevertheless, I know that's hopeless, but it's all right. It shows active intelligence. The thing I'm going to describe, the theory of quantum electrodynamics, this has in it two actors in the stage of space and time, the relativistic stage of space and time.
Evening that I had with 37 years ago, where Kent Clark's, perhaps I should say, masterpiece was presented. I think I was perhaps most happy with hearing the sultry blonde sing the song, how did it go? Dr. Linus Pauling is a man for me. If he does something to my chemistry.
When he wrote his eye, all my atoms iodized. When these near blood molecules rushed through my veins, and I couldn't tell an acid from first base. Oh, joy, you'll never see such a finish.
Thank you. I don't know if anyone has a question or two. I'd be happy to try and answer it. Yes, yes.
When I went to Occidental in 1949, Linus Pauling was head of the chemistry department at Oxford.
Oh, at Oxy, really?
Yeah.
Ah, I don't know how he did that.
Well, he was there.
Okay.
And he taught microchemistry.
How did Troop play into the Caltech?
Well, the founder was Amos Troop. He was a Universalist preacher, and he thought that Pasadena needed a school, a university. So he gave the money, and it was named after him for 1 year as Troop University, but he didn't find too many students. He only had 31. And so the school expanded and became a preparatory school, and what is now Poly was part of Troop. And there was also a high school, arts and crafts, and it continued this way. Poly was the first branch to break away and become independent. And then George Ellery Hale had come to Pasadena to build the Mount Wilson Observatory. And he was a great mover and shaker. And Troop put him on their board because they didn't know what direction the school should go. And Hale recommended that they get rid of everything except the college preparatory department and start all over and become a college of engineering, which is what they did. After Noyes came from MIT, the other institution on the East Coast, our sister institution, and Noyes suggested toward the end of the teens that they should drop the name Troop and name the building for the founder, but take the great name of the state of California. And that's what happened. It became the California Institute of Technology in 1920. Yes, sir.
Between Troop University and Caltech, was it known as Troop Polytechnic
Yes.
Institute?
Yes, it went through many variations on the name Troop. Yes. Troop University, Troop Polytechnic, Troop College of Engineering, yes. Now I think we have a site on the campus where Troop Hall stood, which has some little waterfalls and very old rocks. And that's to commemorate the beginnings of Troop. Yes? JPL, you know, was a World War II project. It began, there were two projects during World War II. To build small rockets and big rockets. The small rockets were built in Kellogg Laboratory, and the large rockets were built at JPL. And it remained an Army installation until the late 1950s. While it was an Army installation, of course, it was all classified. And then it was managed by Caltech for the government, for NASA, when NASA began, and is now an open laboratory. Rockets was not considered a good word, so it became jet propulsion. Didn't scare people. Yes?
What goes on now?
At the Jet Propulsion Laboratory at Caltech? Oh, we do research. In what? Oh, like what? Well, they do amazing things in biology, you know, in molecular biology and in physics. They look at strange exotic particles. And then in engineering, they look at strange and exotic materials. But it's always at the forefront. Caltech in general has never continued to do research once a breakthrough has happened and it becomes an ordinary research field. They'll let other universities do that, and they will start something new. But they do have, you know, public presentations, the Watson lectures, and if you're interested, you can go to them. They're open to the public. Yes? I think we have approximately 1,000 undergraduates. It's crept up a little bit from 800. And about 1,000 graduate students, about 2,000.
How many of those are foreigners?
Well, we take the best and the brightest from all over the world. So the percentage of international students,
That a lot of American students aren't going to Caltech.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
The ratio is more international than American.
Well, I suspect maybe 30% of our undergraduates are international students. As for graduate students, a lot of American students don't want to work so hard to become a scientist. It's hard work. And international students still have that drive.
Yeah.
But I think that's the only thing. It's who wants to work hard? And you know, the reward isn't always a big payoff.
It's better to be a plumber.
Yes.
Can you tell us anything about an observatory that still exists south of the campus?
Oh, that's now privately owned. That's on Halliday Road. When George Elliott Hale retired, he had worked for the Carnegie Institution of Washington because they built Mount Wilson. And when he retired, the Carnegie Institution offered him a piece of land because it was sold off from the Huntington. And they built him a small observatory. And he used to do observing there. He was a solar observer, astronomer, and he had a telescope that he could use to look at the sun. But I think maybe 20 years ago it passed into private hands.
On your left.
Yes. Oh, yes.
What is Caltech's endowment?
Well, I think with the rising stock market, is it about 1.9 billion? 1.9 billion, give or take a few millions. Yes.
Could you tell me a little bit about Kip Thorne? He lived in our house the summer of either 75 or 76. I never met him face to face.
Well, he's a very famous theoretical physicist, known for his work in cosmology and relativity. And since his retirement, he's joined forces with Steven Spielberg to make a science fiction movie, so we should all look for it. You know, because Kip did a lot of work with black holes.
Yes.
So the question is, you know, what happens in a black hole?
When they presented him to us, they said he was looking for black holes. And I thought it was in my backyard.
These are the ones out in space. Yes?
Does Caltech have anyone connected with the Collider over in Switzerland, France? Working
Oh, yes. Yes, we have a very large group in physics that works on the collider. What part they took in the discovery of the boson? Did they have some part in it? Don't know for sure, but they were over there. But you know, thousands of scientists are involved. And if you look at a paper and see all the names, you know, there's very little text, but there might be 500 names. Only one counts, I'm told. The last name? No, some name. And everyone in the field knows that name. And everybody else had a part in it.
Any other questions? No. I would like to recommend to any of you who have not been to Watson lectures in the past, they are open to the public. They're free and very invigorating. I remember going years ago to the Athenaeum to a presentation about 10 years ago. You're talking about basic research being done. There's a report from some postdoctoral students on intention-based research with primates. 10 years later, there are prosthetics being produced today that are driven by mental connections, which have allowed a lot of people who are coming back from wars that we've had to live much more fulfilling lives. And I'd really like to recommend you attend some of those when they're available. And I also like to thank Judith for weaving back in with us to help us celebrating our centennial this year with some historical background, and we thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks so much.
That was our token of our appreciation. So, turn this over to Andrew.
Okay, this will conclude our tonight's program. Thank you for coming, and our April dinner meeting is on April 16th. So have a great night. See you in April.